Finally, in his pursuit of grasping the drastically transforming Chinese society and the bewilderment of the people impacted by the transformation, Jia's documentary-inflected realism in still life also teams up with the animated documentary's vision to uncover a more real truth. Through the production of internal images, Jia's utilization of computer-generated special effects intervenes at several key moments to intensify the character's state of mind. A UFO flashes across the sky of a Fengjie village upon Shen Hong's and Han Sanming's arrival in Fengjie village to search for their long-lost other half. A mysterious monument behind Shen Hong takes off while she is stuck in his memories. Finally, a man walks on the high wire connecting two half-demolished buildings while Han Sanming is leaving Fengjie for the life-risking coal miner job back in his hometown. Corresponding to Michael Schaubl's perspective in all filmmaking is for the therapy. Jia achieves this, quote, more real truth, and of course in still life with his utilization of the computer-generated special effects which bring into view the uncertainties and different states of consciousness that constitute the real-life condition of those ordinary Chinese citizens impacted by the Three Gorges Dam project. Through the special effects detour from the real, Jia questioned the, quote, adequacy of the representational system of both memory and factual photographic filmic documentation, and of quote. Moreover, by utilizing the special effects to achieve the more real truth, Jia critically challenges the falsehood delivered by those fifth-generation filmmakers' aesthetic and ideological manipulation of today's Chinese urban reality. The, quote, more real truth, unquote, emerged from Jia's special effects in still life is achieved at the confluence of Schaubel's and Vaughan's perspectives, in which both of them pay special attention to the perception of the viewers. Schaubel's argument that, quote, the audience understands that the animated images is created entirely from the artist's hand, and of quote, in this sense correspond to Vaughan's assertion that while a viewer elects to perceive a film as documentary, he, quote, does not reject a fictive option for a known nonfiction, but rather selects a mode of apprehension in full knowledge of his own ignorance, end of quote. In this regard, Jia's documentary-inflected realism actually transcends both of Schaubel's and Vaughan's argument and again skillfully intervenes the viewer's perception of these special effects to enhance the quote-unquote documentary-ness of them. While the special effects deployed in still life do not dramatize those elements or events evident in the real life and subsequently offer the viewers no tangible connection to their real life experiences, these special effects, therefore, initially emphasize their detour from the real world. In this sense, these special effects remain enigmatic to the viewers. Moreover, while these special effects take place in the fictional world of still life in which the characters' stories unfold, none of the appearance of those special effects is noticed by the characters in the film. This cinematic arrangement disturbs the viewer's perception of the special effect as unreal by strictly positioning them as only the internal images of the characters, operating as what McGrath termed as quote-unquote magical realism. This technique subsequently addresses the quote-unquote documentary-ness of these special effects, which make possible for the special effects to be perceived as documentary. In sum, the examination of Jia's various cinematic techniques utilized in still life demonstrates that Jia's manipulations and interruptions of the filmmaker-text-viewer dialogue is primarily accomplished through his documentary-inflected realism deployed extensively in still life. In this regard, while critics such as Vaughan, Barry, and Schaubel emphatically ground their critiques of the ambiguous qualities of documentary films on the province of the viewer, Jia alternatively emphasized the province of the filmmaker through his mode of filmmaking that incorporates the documentary-inflected realism. Accordingly, Jia manipulates the viewer's judgment and perception of the truth with the quote-unquote documentary-ness he artfully crafts and intensifies, and therefore unsettles these critics' respective models for their delineation of the boundary of documentary and other cinematic forms, and subsequently their definition of documentary films that heavily depend on the viewer's perception of the given images. For Jia, the power of decision lies in the hands of the filmmaker, as the filmmaker's chosen cinematic techniques, as demonstrated in still life, can intentionally mislead the viewer's perception and judgment by blurring the boundary between documentary film and fiction films. For this reason, even those computer-generated special effects, while probably carry the least documentary quality, can fulfill the viewer's desire to perceive a given image as documentary. However, Jia's utilization of those computer-generated special effects in still life can actually offer us an alternative point of departure for the discourse of documentary films, which again fortifies the privilege of the viewers, as Vaughan, Barry, and Schauble have suggested. Instead of considering the delineation of documentary film as depending on the province of the viewers, Jia's utilization of those computer-generated special effects actually inspire us to return to the filmmaker-text-viewer dialogue and to contemplate upon an alternative perspective in which the privilege of the viewers becomes the conspiracy between the filmmaker and his viewers. In a sense, all the quote-unquote documentary-ness conveyed through Jia's documentary-inflected realism, and especially those achieved through his quote-unquote magical realism in still life, only become possible if the viewers agree to hold hands with Jia's documentary-inflected realism. This quote-unquote conspiracy between the Jia and his viewer therefore unceasingly confirms the documentary-ness of still life, which further fulfills the viewer's desire for a documentary film, and eventually accomplishes the viewer's perception of still life as an expanded documentary film.